speaking of it.
What's up, guys? We're here at AMC Town Square with Chasing Cinema.
Mr. James Shue.
.com, and I am here to hear your review to see if I need to watch it tomorrow. Death Wish.
Yeah. Let's travel back in time. We're going to get in our DeLorean and fly back to 1974 when Charles Bronson, the man who kind of really got famous from Death Wish, played the heart-wrenched father whose daughter and wife was attacked by a group of hippies and lowlifes. And
back then, was it rape or they murdered?
It's kind of blurry. I didn't revisit, but I'm pretty sure someone is raped, and I think it's very similar. I don't want to necessarily give any spoilers away. I think someone is murdered, someone is raped, but someone survives.
Got it.
I could be wrong. At least maybe the intention of rape was there. I haven't seen the movie in a long time because even the 1974 version, I'm not a very big fan of.
Okay.
I prefer by Charles Bronson in the westerns, and while I think that this movie has momentum, I think it spawned like 5 sequels, like I was just telling Mr. Cat Wong, 2 of which are hailed to be like some of the worst movies of all time. They got really bad, particularly the final one, Death Wish 5. But anyway, what do we do with stuff that we've seen already?
What are you gonna do, you know?
You remake it. You bring it back onto the big screen and you redo it. And now we have Bruce Willis, someone who's known for carrying a gun and doing the whole shoot 'em up type deal. I mean, granted, I will say, he is John McClane. So maybe going into that could be something.
And he just talked about Die Hard 6.
I'm all for it. John McClane, I'm all for it. But can he play, this role that is basically, though Death Wish kind of made this really interesting subgenre famous, we now have Liam Neeson kind of taking over that role. Like, right, Liam Neeson is the eventual father. Like, we've seen this before. And I think that's probably the issue with Death Wish here. It's familiar. We've seen it. It's nothing new. I think the problem here lies in Bruce Willis' performance. I think in some moments he's really good. And granted, I've always been a big Bruce Willis fan. But in the emotional moments, in these really dramatic scenes where he's crying about what happened to his family, I think part of it has to do with the editing. Like, a lot of times we feel like we're dropped into the middle of a scene, and it just feels like things are going on, and you're like, wait a minute, what? Like, it's really...
Oh, we're here.
Yeah, like, we're here, and, like, this is happening, but I don't understand, like, why. Like, it's just... I mean, obviously it makes sense, but as a viewer, it's so disorienting that you're just kind of like, wait, what? And then Bruce Willis' performance really just kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. At times it feels like more of a school play than it does a real movie.
Dang.
and I think that's also kind of the issue, is that the movie sometimes feels like this snarky, I'm Bruce Willis, I'm gonna get you bad guys. And then the very dramatic, like, you've done this to me and I want revenge. And it really has a hard time balancing that. And I think so much so that it affects where you want, or how you want people to respond to the movie. The audience that I saw it with, people were cheering when people were getting their heads blown off and stuff like that. But at the same time, that really affects those dramatic scenes, those very real scenes that Bruce Willis needs to kind of really emote and break down.
Because you don't know if it's serious anymore or if it's...
Well, it's trying to do both. But it's very hard because Bruce Willis is, smiling and all happy about what he's doing. But obviously he's doing this out of a really tragic event in his life. The thing is that I felt, and maybe I might be reading too much into this, and I'll admit that, and I don't want to say that this necessarily affected my view of the film, but this movie feels like it kind of beat you over the head as far as politics. The original Death Wish in 1974 and another movie called Joe, which was about these very vengeful Americans who, were taking out the hippies, was pretty conservative and, kind of making a statement about, hippies and liberals and kind of things like that. And I think this Death Wish doesn't really change that attitude. There are times where I feel like it is so blatant that it might be satire, but then other times I don't feel that, and I was kind of lost in that idea of what Death Wish is trying to say. Granted, I don't think studios planned for this movie to come out revolving the events that happened in Florida.
Yeah.
But I think that's something that, I was conscious of. And I think that maybe not all movie viewers will have that in mind while they're watching the movie. But I think this movie is trying to make a statement about guns. And we have to take the law into our own hands. And that means having guns and protecting our families and things like that. And
So the opposite of what a lot of people want to hear right now.
I think, but it's also, there's a lot of people out there who do want to hear it. And I think, there are times when, they take these little, I think, interesting choices that kind of make it more of a political statement that feel like it's beating over the head. Granted, I don't know Eli Roth's political views very well, so maybe I'm just reading into it too much. But at the same time, it's hard for me not to, because I would think, as a critic, I think some of the most basic things I look for is, what is this movie saying? What is it saying about the time we live in, and what is it saying about the time the movie takes place in? And regardless if it was intentional or not, this movie did come at a time when there were shootings already. Granted, it might not have predicted Florida, obviously, but now that Florida happened, it was hard for me to separate the two. Yeah. So I think time might be an issue for this movie, but I'm not saying, oh, it's a conservative movie, don't go see it. That's not what I'm saying at all, but I feel like regardless of what its views are, it's very, very heavy and in every scene, and I think it kind of got annoying. Again, that might have been me and just really not being able to separate
at the time
what's going on. So that's why I don't want people, I was kind of hesitant to talk about it, but that was the one thing that was constantly kind of nagging at me. But overall, I think if you take all the politics aside and you say, all right, Jake, just don't think about that stuff. It's a movie we've seen. It's a movie that we've had, Taken 1, 2, and 3. We've seen this genre before. We've seen the vengeful thing.
Leave the Takens alone.
And you could only, that's the thing though, but you could only have so much of it to be oh, this is really cool. But at the same time, people like bad guys getting punished. And that's something that's true in movies. And maybe for me, I've kind of grown tired of it. And particularly, I don't feel like this movie did anything new with it. But I'm sure it'll make money.
Good?
Yeah. Overall, I was mad about it. I don't think I'll be revisiting it. I don't think I care to see a sequel. Will there be a sequel? I would probably argue yes, but
Really?
Yeah. I would be shocked if there wasn't a sequel, if it does well this weekend. I don't know how it's going to do. I don't know how people's attitudes are. I don't know how, I've never really looked into how things that are going on will dramatically affect a movie like this. But I think when people do see it, I did hear comments of people having issues and talking about this whole entire message right now and the timing of it. I don't know if that's going to divide the audience, which we've talked about, and Mr. Shue, a great businessman and a very smart man, and you can go check out his channel. He talks about all this stuff, but we were talking about economics and things like that, and how dividing because of your political beliefs, things like that. Anyway, I don't want to get off track.
Black Panther is supposed to do the third weekend, #1 again.
Yes.
And then right now we're
just cracked 800 million or 700 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts.
8.
My favorite movie of the year so far, still.
Hasn't even opened in Japan or China yet.
But if you're curious to see what I thought about Red Sparrow, you click that white eye.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Maybe that was a top one.
So that's interesting to see which one's better between Death Wish and Red Sparrow.
Yeah, two very different movies.
So check out our review for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we want to know both.
This Sunday, the 90th Oscars.
Live with Chasing Cinema.
Yeah. Oscars 2018.
Twitter at Chasing Cinema.
Yeah, we'll be live tweeting throughout the entire show. Right now we have some polls up. You can pick who's going to win Best Picture, who's going to win Best Actor, who's Best Director, and so on and so forth.
Go Woody, just because I like Woody Harrelson.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Do you have an idea who's going to win Best Actor?
Best Actor? Who's it up?
I would say Darkest Hour. Gary Oldman. It is probably the favorite right now. Yeah. So, Timothy Chalamet, Call Him by Your Name.
I didn't see that one either.
Not Paul Thomas Anderson, but
that's the director.
Daniel Day-Lewis for Phantom Thread.
Phantom Thread.
So, we'll have to see, but you'll have to see. Go fill out the poll. There's a lot of other interesting things going on with the Oscars. I'm really interested to see what they do. And next week,
I'm sure there'll be a joke or two about. Make sure you read it right.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. And I've liked Jimmy Kimmel's Oscar hosting the past couple weeks. Or past couple years, excuse me, and obviously the Oscars have become a little bit more political now that we're talking politics than I think a lot of people care for. But I'm sure it'll be interesting. It up. Yeah,
I don't think people want to see that the Oscars, in my opinion. I think people just want to see a good show.
I think people want to see a good show, but most of the time when you're hitting the 4-hour mark, Oscars always forget that. So, well, but I don't know. I'll let you know. When we live tweet it, I'll tell you if you guys it's a good show. Next week.
Wrinkle in Time with Oprah and Chris Pine.
Whoever want to disagree. Yeah, that trailer's so awesome. Yeah, Chris Pine, Oprah Winfrey, Reese Witherspoon, who, God, what was the last thing she was in? She was in something recently, right?
Yeah, she was
in something recently.
2 years ago or something,
Yeah.
and she was gonna. People were saying she was gonna get nominated.
And then, she was in Wild. That's right, but that was still a while ago. And then we had, and then next week we also might have Strangers. I don't know if that's opening in the Vegas market next week, but hopefully. But if that is, we'll be
The
watching
Strangers
it.
Pray at Night.
Oh, did you watch First Prayer?
No,
Strangers?
you were the one who told me that this was a sequel.
Yes. Don't watch it alone. You can get scared.
Hey,
All right. Yeah. So that's what I got for you.
I love it all. ChasingCinema.com is known as
The Film Lovers website.